called Intellectuals and Society, where he exposes what intellectuals do, why they do it, and most importantly, what impact they have on our society. Thomas, I started reading it this weekend. I mean, it is one of those books that I think the average person will make their head hurt, but in a good way. The way you boil this down, and I'm fascinated if I can connect with you here a little bit on, I haven't seen anything in American history like what is being played out right now, unless I go back to the early 20th century with Woodrow Wilson and the early progressive movement with Teddy Roosevelt, prohibition, the Fed, income tax, and the power grab that happened around 1915. True or false?
True. In fact, I've often thought the current president is really sort of Woodrow Wilson reincarnated. People admire him for the same reason they admire Woodrow Wilson. He said things that sounded so wonderful. And yet if you challenge those people by saying, name one concrete thing in the real world that became better as a result of what Woodrow Wilson did, they can't tell you.
No. Woodrow Wilson was an amazing, I mean, he was a racist. He was the first, correct me if I'm wrong, he was the first tweed suit guy that we ever elected. And he changed, we used to go to the people who were producers and doers for advice. He changed that. We went then to the colleges and the universities and the professors and the tweed suits for advice. True or false?
That's true. It's also true that people we admired in the first half of the 20th century were people who actually made our lives better. Thomas Edison, Henry Ford, people like that. In the latter half of the 20th century, we went to people who talked good.
Okay.
And it never mattered what the actual consequences of what they said were.
Right. So why does this matter? Why is this important for people to understand? What did this change bring to us?
Well, you can look at what the consequences of Woodrow Wilson were. That is, he talked about making the world safe for democracy. In point of fact, totalitarianism came in as a direct result of World War I and of our involvement in it. He talked about democracy in the world, and when in point of fact he restricted free speech in the United States to such an extent that some of the landmark Supreme Court decisions on free speech come from the Woodrow Wilson administrations. You could go on and on with all the things that he did that were disastrous. We're still cleaning up in the Middle East from his notion of the self-determination of peoples, which meant nothing. The people had nothing to say about it. The Ottoman Empire and the Habsburg Empire were carved up by politicians, and they created unstable and now dangerous states in the Middle East as well as elsewhere.
You know, Hillary Clinton said she likens herself no longer to a liberal, but to an early American 20th century progressive, which is the Woodrow Wilson era. Yet they won't take responsibility for the ideas of, they loved dictators. Correct me if I'm wrong on any of these. The progressives loved dictators. They were prohibitionists. They were for, you know, the progressive income tax. And most importantly, they were also for eugenics, which led to the Holocaust.
Absolutely. Well, what they're for more generally is simply third parties telling people how to live their lives. And we see that right now in the health care bill.
All right, hang on. I want to come back to you at in the next break, and I want to ask you, if you deny those things as a progressive, then what does that mean for today? We'll be back in just